I had just moved into my very first unfurnished apartment. It was exciting, but my budget was so tight it was practically screaming. For the first week, I was sleeping on an air mattress in a giant, empty living room, just scrolling and scrolling through online marketplaces for anything I could afford. And that's when I saw it. A beautiful, modern-looking sectional couch. The photos were crisp, it looked clean, and the price was an absolute steal. The seller, a guy named Mark, said he was moving out of state in a hurry and needed it gone by the end of the day. My gut was telling me it was too good to be true, but my empty apartment was screaming louder. I shot a message to Mark. He was polite, if a little brief, if nothing set off any major alarms. He gave me the address, I borrowed my friend's truck, and off I went. When I pulled up, the house was in a nice, quiet suburb. Mark met me at the door. He was a tall, lanky guy, maybe late 20s, with really tired eyes. He didn't smile, just gave a little nod and led me inside. The house was weirdly empty, just boxes everywhere, which seemed to back up his moving story. The couch was right there in the living room, and it was perfect. We made some awkward small talk while I looked it over. He seemed anxious, constantly glancing at his phone and then up toward the second-floor stairs. I just figured it was the stress of moving. He helped me carry it out to the truck, and I was surprised by how strong he was for such a thin guy. As I was tying the last rope down, I handed him the cash. His fingers brushed against mine, and his skin was cold, like unnaturally cold. He just grabbed the money, gave another one of those blank nods, and went back inside without saying another word. The whole thing was weird, but hey, I had my couch. I was thrilled. That night, I set it up in my living room, and it felt amazing to finally have a real piece of furniture. I ordered a pizza, sprawled out on my new prize, and put on a movie. I was so exhausted from the move, I conked out right there. I woke up a few hours later. The TV was still on, throwing a faint glow across the room. But something was wrong. There was a noise. It was a soft, scraping sound coming from downstairs. My apartment was a two-story loft, with the living area downstairs and my bedroom upstairs. At first I thought, it's just the building settling, but then I heard a voice. A man's voice. It was quiet, almost a whisper, but it was crystal clear. It was my name, Sarah. My blood ran cold. I was completely frozen on the couch. This was not a dream. Someone was in my apartment, and they knew my name. The only person I'd really interacted with all day was Mark. But how? How could he possibly be here? Sarah? I know you're here. The voice was coming from the bottom of my stairs. It was him. It was Mark. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold my phone, but I managed to grab it from the cushion next to me. I slid off the couch and crawled on my hands and knees toward the upstairs bedroom, trying to stay low and out of sight. I could hear his footsteps now, slow and deliberate, just moving around my living room. He was exploring. I made it to my bedroom and quietly locked the door. I scrambled into the closet, pulled the door shut, and plunged myself into total darkness. I dialed 911, my voice a choked whisper as I tried to explain what was happening. The dispatcher was incredible, telling me to stay on the line and not make a single sound. From inside the closet, I could hear him coming up the stairs. Each step felt like a hammer blow against my heart. He got to the top of the landing and stopped. The silence that followed was somehow even worse than the noise. I held my breath, just listening. Then I heard the doorknob to my bedroom jiggle. He was trying to get in. He rattled it a few times, then stopped. I could hear him breathing, faint but right outside the door. After what felt like an eternity, the footsteps moved away. I heard a loud crash from downstairs and then silence. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was the police. They were outside. They told me to stay right where I was. Then I heard them announce their presence, their voices booming through my apartment. I didn't move until an officer opened my closet door. They swept the entire apartment, but he was gone. They found a kitchen window that had been pried open. That's how he must have gotten in. Tucked deep inside the cushions of my new couch, they found a small tracking device. He hadn't just sold me a couch. He had sold me a key to my own home. The police said he'd likely done this before. They took my statement, but they never found him. I threw the couch out the very next day. I couldn't even look at it. For months after, every creak in the building, every shadow in the corner of my eye, made me think he was back. That encounter is a terrifying reminder that you're inviting a complete stranger into your life. But sometimes the danger isn't about what someone might take from you. Sometimes they want something much, much worse. This next story is about what happens when an online ad isn't for a transaction at all, but a lure for a killer. Story 2. An invitation from the Craigslist killer for Troy LaFerrara, a 42-year-old man from a small town in Pennsylvania, November 11, 2013, probably started like any other day. But that evening, he answered a Craigslist ad posted by a 19-year-old named Miranda Barber, which offered companionship for $100. For Troy, it was supposed to be a simple, private transaction. He had no way of knowing he was walking into a trap, one carefully set by a newlywed couple who wanted to kill someone together. Miranda had been married to her husband, 22-year-old Alit Barber, for only 3 weeks. According to Alit's later confession, the two had talked about killing someone before, and tonight they were going to go through with it. Troy arranged to meet Miranda in the parking lot of the Susquehanna Valley Mall. When he arrived, he saw her waiting in her Honda CR-V. She was young and petite, and probably seemed completely harmless. He got into the car, handed her the $100, and they drove off toward the nearby town of Sunbury. As they drove, Troy couldn't have known what was waiting for him. Hidden under a blanket in the back seat, Alit Barber was lying in wait. When Miranda gave the signal, the plan would spring into action. They parked in a quiet, dark area, and the trap was sprung.